Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to a new live episode of He Said, He Said, He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned black man's perspective. Thank you all for being here tonight. We are live, and we had some technical difficulties before the show started, but we have taken care of those, and we are here. Hopefully, you guys are joining us tonight. Wow, wow, wow. It is really raining in DC. I don't know where you are, but DC is very soggy, ladies and gentlemen. But the sun is here. And tonight we are so excited to continue a very special feature of our ongoing series, April for Art. April is all about honoring the power and presence of art in our lives because art, in all its forms, helps us understand our history, our culture, and the diverse experiences of others. It speaks where words often fall short. It inspires, it challenges, it reflects, and yes, it brings us joy. In a time when the global art market has seen a notable decline, down 12% in 2024, according to the latest art market report by Art Basel and UBS, it is more important than ever to spotlight the talent and creativity that exists right here amongst us, especially those voices that have been underrepresented in the broader art world, our African American artists. And tonight, we are honored to welcome one of those incredible voices, an artist whose work speaks volumes, the amazing Greg Scott. He is here with us, ladies and gentlemen, and we're so glad to have him here. And I thank you all for joining us on this special night as we can, and for continuing to help us support the arts. Um, Mattel has done it again, ladies and gentlemen. The toy manufacturer has created a LeBron James Ken doll. LeBron James, the GOAT, is one of the most iconic figures in modern sports. And he has made history once again, this time in the toy aisle. Mattel has announced the release of a new Barbie in LeBron James likeness, making him the first professional male athlete to be honored as a Ken doll. And according to Mattel, we are excited to bring fans a new presentation of Ken, said Krista Berger, Mattel's senior vice president of Barbie. She also said the doll celebrates LeBron as a role model, his ability as an icon to transcend culture and set a positive example for the next generation. The doll features the Los Angeles Lakers basketball player in his pregame fashion looks and reflects his height of 6 feet 9. It's an inch taller than the standard Ken doll, which, if you're going to, make a doll with LeBron James, you better make him bigger. I'm going to leave that alone and keep moving. But wouldn't you know it, the new doll comes as the company is facing financial uncertainty amid this administration's escalating trade war with China, where just under 40% of Mattel's production is based. And I collect dolls, don't judge me, and I'm an equal opportunity doll collector. I collect RuPaul dolls, and I will collect this LeBron James doll, ladies and gentlemen. I am so happy for this. This actually put a smile on my face, so I was glad to hear about that. And before I bring the guys on, and I want to stay here and talk about some basketball for a moment because something uh, hit me this week, actually on Sunday. And before I move forward, I want to thank a woman by the name of Tangi Franks, who wrote an article, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to talk to you about tonight. Last Sunday, I'm not into college basketball, but last Sunday, a friend was here at my house and wanted to see the women's basketball championship game with UConn and South Carolina, where UConn beat South Carolina 82-59, and that was Dawn Staley's team. And the headlines wrote after the game was over that it was a championship dream shattered. And here's where the plot twists. Dawn Staley still earned more this year than the coach of UConn who beat her. I want you to think about this also. In what world does a black woman coach with 3 out earned who out earned a white man with 12 wins under his belt. It's in a world where she built a brand, not just a team. And despite Gino Ariman's legendary status, Stolly's new contract makes her the highest paid coach in women's basketball at $4 million, earning out earning him at 3.54 million dollars. And many don't know that while rebuilding South Carolina, Stolly drove around campus in a van with a bullhorn, begging students to attend the games. And think about that, a championship winning Olympic gold medalist reduced to carnival barking for attendance. Black women and underestimated folks in general usually don't go above and beyond in their roles, just like Stolly did, and still makes less. Until the system changes, there's something we can do on our own, and that's something I know about: building a brand. Once she built a brand, this is what happened. Attendance went from 2,500 to 19,000 sold out crowds. Her salary went from 250,000 to $4 million annually. His Instagram is 56,000 and hers is 579,000. But that's not just a gap. That's a revolution in influence. And when you only let work speak for itself, one loss defines you. Your value is tied to outcomes. Setbacks become your story. But when you build a powerful personal brand, your platform outlasts your defeat. Your influence creates opportunities beyond results. Your salary reflects your impact, not just your record. So, to put it all into some type of context, in corporate America, only 1.4% of executives are Black women. Leaders from underrepresented groups with strong personal brands report 2.8% or more advancement opportunities. Stolly didn't just win championships, she changed the power structure. And here's the ultimate truth: when we create platforms instead of waiting for gatekeepers, when we leverage a visibility to demand what we're worth, the rule changes. The question isn't, you deserve this kind of influence, it's when you start building it. Because if Dawn Stolly started with a bullhorn and near empty arena can build something that transcends championships and transform compensation, just think about how many underestimated executives are still trying to work twice as hard for half the recognition, still waiting for permission to be visible, still playing smaller than their dream. The blueprint is clear. Excellence is necessary, but visibility is revolutionary. Only one of them gives you the power when the scoreboard doesn't. And for that, I am saluting Dawn Stolly, ladies and gentlemen. And I wanted to share that with you because it touched me. And before I bring the guys on, because I don't do this alone, I just want to say that is a powerful piece that I hope that some of you will listen to again and keep it with you. And I'm going to post this article on our He Said Live webpage as well. So if you all are ready to get on with this great show tonight, let's get on with the chat. Gentlemen,
Good evening.
I think you're muted, Bobby.
I said, you better preach.
Oh, Bobby.
That was a sermon right there. That was a class on
Bobby,
a loss versus a brand. I'm like, come on out.
thank you. When that was given to me and I read it 3 times and I had to edit. I wanted to read the whole thing. And so I had to pull what I could. I just want to say that young lady who wrote that piece on Dawn Stolly, it just touched me. And then the whole concept of building a brand and where we are, you can't
Yes.
just look at her because of a game.
Yeah.
She is revolutionary. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
let me say this, because I am a graduate of the University of South Carolina.
Mhm.
That's where I went for undergrad. And I was one of those students who did attend the women's basketball games when I was at Carolina. And I remember how dismal it was, if you will. But then again, the men's team was also dismal during that time. This was in the early 90s. So I'm very, very proud of Dawn Staley for what she has done for the university in terms of putting the school on the map. But again, this is he said, he said, he said. But if you know anything about the University of South Carolina and its history and how the school still has a wall around the historic part of the campus, a wall that was initially put up to keep Black folks off campus. It's still there.
Wow.
So, so I'm mixed in terms of feelings in regarding the celebration of the university, its team, but I celebrate Dawn and her accomplishments.
Amen. Amen. Well said, man. And I mean, you were there. You lived it. So yeah, that makes sense. So how are you guys doing on this rainy Friday? Oh, I'm sorry. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us tonight. Felix, Monica, let me see, Michelle Sims. Thank you all for joining us. You know, it's live and technical difficulties, they come now and then, but we're here. We are here. And we have a great show for you tonight. So I'm sorry. Yes.
Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I get started?
You can, but first, how was your week?
My week was busy. You know, as you know, I'm a commissioner, and have had a lot going on in terms of trying to take care of my constituents, as well as my day job. And I'm also trying to get certification in terms of AI for business. So there's a lot going on.
Okay. Thank you. How about you, Bobby?
It was a good week all in all. It is, as you said, now we are all here in the district. And as you said, it is a Friday night that is cold and rainy, not even 50 degrees, even though we had 80-degree weather a couple of weeks ago. But we are now at less than 50 degrees, cold and rainy. But I am warmed by the fellowship of my brothers here. So
Amen.
Amen. Okay, so let's get on with the chat. What's going on in your world?
Well, let me start since we're talking about world. As we all know, World Pride is going to be celebrated here in Washington, D.C. The event starts May 17th and it goes through June 8th. But this event has not been without some controversy. We all know that J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, was asked to not be the headliner. But what's really big now is that the organizers of the event are asking some trans members of the community to not attend World Pride because of what they deem to be possible attacks against the community. So we've heard from Councilmember Charles Allen, who stated that he doesn't like the fact that the trans community has been asked not to attend. He thinks that they still should come. We know that Gay Pride Canada, that they have pulled out of DC Pride. And I think it goes deeper than that in terms of it just being about trans people. It is about the administration, and that's why they're doing this. But my thing is this is Washington, D.C., and we know who is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. This city isn't going to let 50 people, at the center of the city dictate what goes on in terms of events. So I think that they are jumping the gun in terms of asking trans people to not attend World Pride. I think that they should move forward and come to the city to celebrate along with everyone if they choose to do so.
Wow. Go ahead. Were you going to say something, Bobby?
I was just going to say, I hear that. I think it is, I understand that there have been some credible threats made. Obviously, we're looking at our headliner. Jennifer Lopez is not, but Cynthia Erivo is headlining. And so I understand that there have been some credible, and Dochi's going to be there. I'm seeing all the slides come up. Credible threats around safety and issue, but I think it's an important opportunity as best possible for the LGBTQ plus community to come in solidarity and say we are going to protect our trans members of our community. I very much agree with Sean. I know the threats are there, but I'm like, if people feel that they want to be there, they should be able to be there and hopefully be protected in the same way that other members. It is world pride here in DC, and it saddens my heart that again so quickly the decision was made to exclude a segment of the community, as opposed to asking how can we ensure their safety.
Uh, I I agree with you, but I'm definitely concerned because with this new administration,
Mhm.
I agree in that they should still come, but I just think that for those, and they specifically, I think I read they said those who are coming into the country,
Ah,
and that is
and that's a
the
distinguishing
that,
thing.
that,
Yes.
that that's a very distinguishing thing. It was those I read somewhere that it was they were going to alert those who are coming into the country because it would make it difficult for them to get out. I mean, right now, today we
Yeah.
just heard that some students at colleges had their visas revoked because
Yeah.
of this administration.
Yeah.
So that is my only concern. But in terms of coming here and showing solidarity, I'm team. He said. He said. He said. With that, I want to curse so bad, but I can't. I
No, it's really sad. It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
yeah.
But you raise a very important component and element of the request as to national versus international, because there could very well be, given this administration,
Hmm.
instances. I mean, we are looking at a man who's in El Salvador from this DC area who
Hmm.
should not have been sent to El Salvador, and an administration that immediately said, "Well, he's there. There's nothing we can do about it." So we understand the attitude around international exchange and policies and so forth. So I can understand why someone could say coming could put you at risk of not even being able to return. So
To return. How about that? And
yeah.
that is my excuse me. I just can't get situated right now because I want to curse, but I can't. So but yeah, that is very unfortunate, Sean. Thank you for letting our viewers know that that's happening because World Pride will go on.
It
It
will.
will go on. It will go on, and I
Yep.
think as we get closer to it, we're going to see a lot more solidarity
Okay.
in ways that we haven't seen before. But we're
Yep.
also going to see the madness of what's going on over there on 16th Street. So
Yep.
thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Okay, so I have an interesting story that has been in the headlines of late also. So imagine a company owned by a wealthy businessman who recreates an extinct apex predator and lets it roam on a private ecological preserve. Sound familiar? Kind of sounds like Jurassic Park.
That
Well,
does. All
that's no
right.
longer just the plot of a 1990 science fiction film, because we now have Romulus and Remus. Colossal Biosciences announced that it had used the DNA of an extinct Ice Age dire wolf to breed new live wolves, and it has sparked excitement and some fear and some ethical questions. There are some eerie similarities to Jurassic Park that people are very concerned about. There are many questions and critics. Some feel that the dire wolves aren't an amazing scientific breakthrough, but indeed a disturbing question as to symbolize where we could be heading. So the dire wolves went extinct around 10,000 years ago, and the colossal dire wolves are, in essence, gray wolves with about 20 hand-picked genes from the dire wolf DNA that recreate key characteristics of the species. But ethicists, I knew I was going to get caught on it, but ethicists and conversationalists, oh goodness, conservationists, Jesus, Bobby,
That's
appear
right.
to attempts to bring back extinct species and whether the efforts matter. Now, there's the question of the wolves themselves. But the question I want us to ponder, particularly given our audience here, is how much do we trust this kind of science? There has always been a challenging relationship between our communities and the scientific community, the medical community in general.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at something like this, I ask myself, one question is, should we be spending money on bringing, first of all, extinct animals back, as opposed to trying to take care of the ones that exist in our planet today? Because when I think of the way that we treat the environment, there are animals that are becoming extinct because we're not caring for the ones that we have here.
That part.
I asked the question as to whether or not, how far are we from seeing dire wolves be recreated, and possibly humans actually walking around here that have been created in this in a comparable way. And what does that mean? Because again, when I think about the experimentation, particularly of our communities, things like the Tuskegee experiment, where Black and brown people were literally used as test dummies around viruses and disease. I think about the whole notion of understanding Black pain and the assumption that we are able to take it. Our pain is often ignored because there's assumption we can't. The question is that I'm putting before you guys is this a good thing? Because this kind of science in the wrong hands could be really interesting for the future.
Well, I would say this. I think part of what you're saying, or maybe what could come, is cloning. And we've already seen that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in terms of the dire wolf, I don't think that it truly is bringing back the extinction of the species, because you can't, because they're actually, like you said, they're using an existing wolf's DNA and then just playing around with it to create basically a new species.
Yes, an animal that carries the characteristics of the dire wolf.
Yes, and so I don't condone that either. But again, people have been breeding dogs for centuries. New breeds have. I mean, the pit bull didn't exist centuries ago, but now the pit bull is one of the most well-known or liked dogs that there is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm going to have to process this a bit more. But cloning, and I don't know if you all saw the TV show on Netflix, they cloned Tyrone.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're not going down that path.
Mm-hmm. But when you say also, Sean, that there were times when, even with certain scientific experiments and so forth, we also existed under a government that created some type of safeguards to prevent certain things from happening. And I look at our current administration and I don't see safeguards.
Well, I agree. And that's why I bring up cloning, because I can see people on the far right, though they're supposed to be, quote, evangelical Christians, if you will. I can see them wanting to clone Adolf Hitler. I can see them wanting to clone the man in the White House right now. Mm-hmm. I can see that possibility, and that is quite frightening.
Yeah. Yep.
My only question to all this is why. You know what I'm saying? It is why.
Because
there's so much going on. But then, to answer my own question, is these people who are now running our country, if you will, they will do anything to have control over anything.
Yes.
And so, I go back to what in the Wolverine is going on right now. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
It's like, let it go. At a time when, you're trying to erase. See, y'all, I
know where you're going.
At a time when y'all trying to erase stuff, trying to create stuff that don't make sense.
Exactly.
Don't make sense. So we're gonna Bobby, keep us updated on that, please.
I will, because there was a line in Jurassic Park that said, they were so busy celebrating that they could do it, they didn't stop to ask themselves, should they do it?
Well,
yeah.
I know why, because I answered my own question, but why? Why? And I dropped the dime on them trying to erase stuff, and I just wanted to let all the viewers know, if you didn't know, if you heard the story about the National Park Service this week, in a repeated effort to erase everything about who we are. This past Monday, a photograph of Harriet Tubman was removed from a National Park Service website about the Underground Railroad. Previously, the page opened with a photo of Tubman and a description that acknowledged slavery in the efforts of enslaved African Americans escape bondage. In its place were images of postage stamps and a reworded introduction that refers to the Underground Railroad as one of the most significant expressions of the American Civil Rights Movement that bridged the divides of race. The updated version did not mention slavery at all. The change followed an executive order signed by this administration last month directing the Smithsonian Institution to eliminate divisive narratives. But I'm happy to let you all know the National Park Service has reversed edits and restored the content to its webpage about Harriet Tubman, and the Underground Railroad in the wake of the news reports and public backlash over the changes. Changes to the Underground Railroad page on the National Park Service website were made without approval from NPS leadership nor department's leadership, according to Rachel Paulitz, who's with the National Park Service. The web page was immediately restored to its original content. And Trump has also targeted the Smithsonian's Network Museum, as you all know, which includes the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And he has asked J.D. Vance to head up the effort to purge what he called improper ideology at the Smithsonian's depictions of American history. So my question to you, Sean and Bobby, how do you feel, and our viewers, how do you feel about the Trump administration targeting the Smithsonian museums, especially the National Museum of African American History and Culture, to purge improper ideology? And the other piece of that is, what do you think that means for our history, how our history is being told?
Bobby, you can go ahead and start, because again, repeat myself. I have to hold my mule.
Lord, yes.
I'm telling you,
I got to hold my mule too, because I got to remember that this is recorded and people can be like, "Did you actually say that?" But what I will say is that, you know, we are reminded that we are greater. We have to be reminded that we are greater than the street that was pulled up. We are greater than the museum that exists. Like, our stories, we have the capacity to continue to pass along our stories, because we've never been able to entrust America fully with being able to, you know, tell stories with authenticity. That old African proverb about the story of the hunt will always stay the same if it is the hunter who tells the story. Mm-hmm. The lion never gets to tell the story. Mm-hmm. And so it is, whether it's through the books that we read, the educational system that exists, we have never been able to fully entrust America with our story and our journey. And so when you see something like the museum and some of these websites, it is threatening, because it comes from a place of authenticity and truth. And that shatters or dismantles the false narrative that is tried to be placed upon us and our contribution or lack thereof in the history of America. Black and brown history is American history. There would be no America without the contributions of our people. We built it, and we are a central part to it. And so their ability to erase, and then we also need to use our voices to speak up against this, to say no. Just because he says take it down, where are our voices to be able to speak up and go, like, how are you going to talk about the Underground Railroad and not talk about Harriet Tubman? How is it even possible? So I'm going to stop there and let
Sean. Because I'm getting ready to jump over the bridge, but go ahead. Oh, my own question.
Don't jump. Yes, just question. There is hope. Yes, I'm kind of where Bobby is, because I do believe that this is where it's very important. It's a strong prerogative that we have to tell our own stories, that we have to be very diligent about telling our stories. It's one reason why I'm very adamant about telling people that I'm Gullah Geechee and Black Indian, and that we're in South Carolina to this very, very day, and that we as people predate the United States of America. Mm-hmm. We predate the British, if you will. And so that is what scares these folks like J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and the man in the White House. They don't want folks to know that the history isn't that old compared to the history of like Indians, Native Americans, or other indigenous people who were here long before 1619. Okay. Yep. But the challenge is getting Black folks to learn this history as well, because some don't want to believe that we were here prior to 1619.
Right.
Some believe that we all came on a boat between 1619 and 1865. So we have to be adamant. We got to own our stories and tell our stories.
Yep.
I have I'm of that age where some of the history that's in the African American History Museum.
Mhm.
I saw it. I was
Mhm.
a part of it.
Mhm.
I lived it. So to have someone tell me that it didn't exist
Right.
when I was there,
Mhm.
that bothers my spirit in a way that I just can't seem to connect with.
Mhm.
And so, thank you, Sean, for reiterating that this too will pass, and it's going to get better. You said that when I said I was going to jump off the cliff a few minutes. So, thank you all for answering that question. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. We can go because I know we got a show to do it. But thank you all. Thank
Yes.
you all.
You're
Yes.
very,
Mhm.
very welcome. And I don't want to bring up more sad news, but I do want to touch on something international, and that is what is going on in the country of Nigeria, West Africa. Uh, Ever since October of 2024, they have been dealing with a growing number of cases of, growing number of cases of meningitis.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out kind of slow, like I said, in October, but this year, the last 3 months, they've seen an uptick in the cases of meningitis. And what's really making this very challenging is that the cases are coming from the most challenging parts of the country to get to, and people are not coming in to get care. They are kind of waiting until it's too late to get care. And of course, most people don't get the vaccinations. Um, so we're seeing this become a health crisis according to who? The World Health Organization. So if you're not familiar with what's going on there, I highly recommend people take a look at it because a lot of folks are traveling to
Right.
Ghana and Nigeria, and this could easily spread to neighboring countries.
Right.
But so far, about 151 people have passed away, and about 8,000, 9,000 people have been diagnosed with the virus.
Mhm.
Thank you for that information. Yes, please. I know some people who have been traveling to Africa
Mhm.
over the last 8 months. And I don't know if they were going to Nigeria or exactly where they were going, but they need to know that information
Mhm.
because that outbreak is real. And
Mhm.
thank you, Sean, for letting us know about that. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I know that we have an exciting guest who is going to be joining us shortly,
Mhm.
so I will keep my final story very quick and brief. But we do want to send out our most sincere condolences to the citizens of the Dominican Republic who
Oh,
are mourning right now. An unimaginable tragedy at a celebrity-studded nightclub plunges the Dominican Republic into mourning. Just the other day, there were about at least 221 people have lost their lives when on Tuesday evening, what had started out as a celebratory night turned into one of the Dominican Republic's deadliest events. The roof of the bustling jet set nightclub totally collapsed, plunging an entire nation into mourning. So, in this Caribbean capital where deaths felt personal to so many, with local journalists even breaking down as they reaccounted what was taking place and the residents trying to come to terms with how this could have possibly happened, that had taken the lives of so many, including some very prominent Dominicans. So the death toll, unfortunately, is likely to be even higher. There were over 200 people who were seriously injured as well, and there are countless others remaining unaccounted for as of today, with search crews just today beginning to call a halt. And what was a search for bodies is now a search and rescue has now become a search for bodies through the rubble. And forensic scientists right now and specialists are trying to identify some of the victims because some of the bodies that have been retrieved, unfortunately, as a result of damage and injury, are unidentifiable simply by just vision. And so the forensic scientists are trying to help people identify the loss of their loved ones. But a tragic, tragic situation right now. 221 lives lost due to a roof collapse in the Dominican Republic. So our sincere condolences go out to any of those who were impacted directly, but also just the loss of life under such horrific circumstances.
wow. Thank you. Did you guys know anybody that was there or because, this world is small.
Yeah,
So somebody knows somebody who
I
knows somebody.
I don't know
Mhm.
anyone who was impacted directly, but I have friends from the Dominican Republic who are certainly, their loved ones are mourning, and they feel a sense of connection, obviously, to their home. And so we just we just speak their names and pray for their
Yeah.
spirits. Yes.
Well, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you all for joining us tonight. Oral Health, George Pringle, Felix, who's joining us for the first time, giving us
Hey.
some pom-pom. Thank you so much. Or is that confetti? I don't know what it is, but I felt some fanfare coming through.
It's a
Um,
fifth time.
Thank you all. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is our month where April for Arts, and we have four incredible artists that are joining us this month, and we have one of them here tonight. And if you all are ready, I want to bring him on because this brother is near and dear to my heart. So you guys ready to bring on our special guest tonight, Sean and Bobby?
Bring it
Yes.
on.
All right, so an innovative artist, Greg Scott always looks toward the future, keeping his mind open and his spirit free. His artwork brings you on a colorful journey of modern aesthetics. At once imaginative, whimsical, stylish, and unquestionable unique. He brings freshness to his artwork by exploring new concepts and incorporating an international flavor. The art of Greg, as I love to say it, is multi talented, multifaceted, highly imaginative, with a knack for translating complex visions into magnificent realities. Step into the art world of Greg Scott and you will be changed forever. But he's here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So please welcome to the He Said stage, artist Greg Scott.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Hercules, Hercules.
Welcome.
Your energy just popped right on the screen, man. Greg, thank you for being here tonight, man. Thank you.
No, thank you guys. This is a wonderful platform, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing to elevate our culture. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And I don't know where you live per se, but you need to call me so I can come pick up one piece of those that neckwear you have around your neck. I just need one piece. I just one. I'm not greedy. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Tamara Jones. Thank you for that compliment to Bobby, Sean, Greg, and I.
I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Well, Greg, again, thank you for working with us through our difficulties to get you on set, but you are here, and we're going to go ahead with this interview tonight. So I want to do an icebreaker first of all, so our viewers can get to know you, because our viewers like to know who we bring on the set. Okay. So before we dive into your interview, Greg, tell us what's bringing you joy these days, creatively or personally,
Oh wow, that's a
or
good question.
both, or both.
What brings me joy right now is being creative. I'm doing a lot of painting. I'm working with a lot of artists, and I enjoy working with artists, from fashion to photography to everyone. And I enjoy working with young people, especially young talented people, to promote what they're doing. So those type of things bring me joy right now, and just being alive, and just being present.
Can we all raise our he said cups to him right now?
Yes, we can.
Being alive.
Being alive.
He got his arm out.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
here.
Thank you. Thank you about that. Anything else you want to share before we move on, Greg?
No, not right now. It might come to me though.
Okay.
Like, let me have a couple more sips of my tea, and I
Yeah,
might
let me do
a
that.
little more. So,
Hmm.
Warm the bones.
All right.
Well, let me get started with this then, because I love that you talk about young people, and I do believe that when it comes to art, it can be a gateway for young people to leave whatever circumstances they might be in, good or bad, to something that they may not have thought about in terms of their creative potential. So, you as a young person, you are a native Washingtonian, which is quite rare these days. So, love to have a native Washingtonian on the show. Where did you grow up in the city, and is there what was your introduction to the art that you do now? What was your introduction to fashion, your introduction to art and graphic design? Where did it all begin? Did it start with you? Did someone come to you and try to introduce you to that world? Or tell me that. Give me your story, if you will.
Okay, that was 3 questions there, but okay. The first question, I grew up in Washington. I'm a 3rd-generation Washingtonian. I grew up in, right now it's called Capitol Hill. I lived in Anacostia, and I just traveled throughout, all over DC. I'm from DC, so I had a lot of family here. And I went to school called Lennox Elementary School on Capitol Hill. Now it's a condo. And I was started drawing when I was 3 years old. So I've been drawing all my life. And when I got into kindergarten and first grade, everybody would call me an artist. So the teachers would always have me decorate the bulletin boards for the whole year. I'd be decorating the bulletin boards. So that's all I did. I went to summer school, but that's the main thing I did. So I enjoyed living here in Washington, D.C. I went to, like I said, I went to Lennox Elementary School. I went to Roundel Junior High School, which now is a museum. And I graduated from Easton High School. And I also went to a school called Penn Center, and they bussed all the artists up to Penn Center. So it was a group of teachers and art students that went up the Penn Center, which was up northeast up northeast.
I've never even heard. I'm a native Washingtonian, ladies and gentlemen, and he named some stuff. And I've been here for 66 years, and I have never heard some of those schools that you just named. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I only been here for 40 years.
Oh, wait. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Alrighty then.
Clearly, the artist can be artistic as well.
Yes. Sean, what was the other question? I'm sorry.
No, you pretty much answered that because I was trying to get to. Go ahead. Sorry.
You had mentioned young people. Besides being an artist and a curator, I also work at Children's Hospital as a gallery curator at Children's Hospital. So I get a chance to work with a lot of young people who are going through challenges with their health. But seeing a young person get involved in their art helps them to kind of like deal with the process of all the medical complications they have to deal with sometimes. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to work with not only artists, professional artists, but just young artists, just seeing their talent.
Thank you.
I love that. That is so beautiful that you're able to work with kids who are dealing with some other things that I'm sure that the art allows them to really kind of step away from the reality of their illnesses and some of the things they're challenging with. That's beautiful. So your obviously your artistic journey did begin here in Washington, D.C. It then took you to Columbus, Ohio, where you attended the Columbus College of Art and Design. And then from there to Brooklyn, New York, where you attended the most prestigious Pratt Institute. And that your first love of art was actually fashion illustration. And I think we actually have a couple of your illustrations that we're going to be sharing with our viewers. So my question to you is, can you share with us a little in brief synopsis, I guess, that journey from DC to Columbus to Pratt, and then just beginning with this love of fashion illustration?
Well, I started out doing fashion illustration when I was in the 10th and 11th grade. And I won a couple of awards at the Heck Company. I think for 2 years I won 2 awards at the Heck Company for fashion illustration. A friend of my family, Michael Shirley, who was my great mentor and taught me how to paint, draw, everything. He just put the cap on me. Anyway, Michael Shirley got me into the Columbus College of Art and Design. From there, I transferred to FIT, and from FIT, I transferred to Pratt Institute. So I graduated from Pratt Institute, but while I was in New York, I also went to night school at Parsons as well as Parsons, and it was Parsons, FIT, and Pratt. Yeah, I went to all 3 schools.
Wow.
I was determined.
At the same time?
I'm sorry.
Well, Greg, hold on. Before we get to showing your illustrations, can we go back to that editorial piece that was there before? Who's in this?
I hang out with a lot of celebrities sometimes. Okay, so during this period, I was hanging out with Toukie Smith and Rudy Townsend. Rudy Townsend was a hairstylist, and Tookie was just Tookie Smith, of course. So I was designing jewelry for her back in the day.
And
And
didn't Tukey Smith marry Robert De Niro? Was that her?
I don't think she married him. I think they were
Oh,
dating.
okay.
So, yeah,
Heavily.
what I knew about that, they were just dating, and they dated for a long time.
Oh, okay,
And
okay,
Tukey is Willie Smith's sister, right?
right, yes.
Yes.
okay. That's
So
who that was.
yeah, so some of these illustrations, I had a couple of clients in New York City that I was doing illustrations for, but also I did a couple of magazines as well. But also, my ex-wife and I used to design clothes in New York City as well. So we had a little shop on Park Avenue at one time. I think it was 66 in Park Avenue.
I never
Okay.
knew that you did fashion illustration. I didn't know that until we put this interview together. So
Yeah,
that is wow, wow.
and
No,
I
no.
also learned to sew after, I had to teach myself how to sew.
Well,
I think
one of the people that you knew here, excuse me, Sean, was Ed Burke, who was a
Oh,
fashion designer here. And I think, did you ever work with Ed in any of your illustrations?
Yeah, like I said, I always hung out with a lot of folks. So me and Ed met with I met Ed at G Street Fabrics.
Okay.
Yeah, Ed was just out of everybody I left in New York, Ed was the most talented designer I ever met in my entire life. Ed could do
yeah.
everything and anything. And he has such a good heart. He has such a good spirit. He was a
Yeah.
quiet man, but he was full of energy. And then I used to love it when he get excited and see some fabric in the store. He would just run on, Greg, what you think about this fabric? What you think about this fabric? I was like, oh yes, that's it. So, it's always inspiring to me when artists and designers and photographers get excited about their work and be so passionate about it.
Mhm.
hmm,
Lord,
Yes.
you took me down memory lane. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let Sean go ahead and get because he started talking about fabric and Ed Burke, and I almost had a relapse. Okay, but
you know,
thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I find it very, very interesting and fascinating because for 2 years I lived in New York City and I was an executive group sales manager for Macy's at Herald Square. So I was in that world a little bit on the business side, if you will. And I know that New York is, I consider to be the fashion capital of the United States, if not the world. So I had to ask you this question, Greg, if you don't mind. Okay. Do you feel that growing up, that returning to build your career here in DC has shaped or limited your opportunities as an artist in any kind of way?
Well, I think for me, a friend of mine told me one time, the best experience is life experiences. So each experience take you to the next level.
Mhm.
And I truly believe that. So I can honestly say everything I've done has made me to the person I am today.
Mhm.
And I'm quite happy where I'm at. I feel very grounded. I feel very just present with people and just present with dealing with life in general.
Mhm.
And I just enjoy being creative too, truth be told. I just love it. I
Well,
bleed creativity.
We
well,
would never know by all of your necklace.
no,
Never.
we would never know that, but but our audience will see that in a few minutes. So, Greg, can you share some of the key influences that shaped your artistic voice early on? And my second question is there a particular muse or source of inspiration that resonates with you now today as an artist?
God, there's so many. I'm gonna start with Quincy Jones. I really appreciate all what he kind of like put in my ear to be humble and just to be present with people. Um, it's so many. God, O.G. Smalls, Josephine Baker was an inspiration for me. Andy Warhol was an inspiration for me. Living in New York, you get a chance to meet people and just talk to people like we're talking right now. And that's the best part of New York. I mean, I used to see Keith Haring on the corner selling his buttons. Matter of fact, I got some buttons that I bought from him. But he was a nice gentleman. He was a nice guy too. So and just traveling to California, meeting celebrities out there, meeting people, and meeting real people. I'm not talking about fake people. I'm talking about real people, because I think you have to put out the energy to bring the right vibes to you, the right people to you.
Amen.
I've always tried to put out the right energy to do that. So it's been a nice journey for me. I'm not gonna lie about that. I've had some wonderful experiences, and God always take me full circle. I've always meet people. Sometimes I dream about meeting people, and I just meet them like the next year or maybe the next month or two. And so and I always prepare myself when I'm about to meet somebody. So it's an interesting journey, to put it like that. It's very interesting.
Are you holding classes? Because somebody might need to take that class.
Okay. So you're talking about the journey and being at a place right now where you feel happy with where you are, grounded, it was your word that you used, and feeling that and being present and appreciative, putting out the positive energy. So if we were to ask you to define success as an artist, how would you define it? And is that definition different now than it might have been even 10 or 15 years ago?
Well, I think each person have their own definition of being successful. Mine's have changed. I realized at one point I'm not in charge of anything. I can only go with the flow of life, and I'm a Pisces, so I really just go with everything basically. But I have a tendency to understand things before they come to me, and so that helps me to process what avenue I'm going down next. So, and I just leave things open now. Like I wake up in the morning, I get an idea every morning. I like working on projects. So if somebody called me and said, "Greg, I got a project. Can you work on it?" Yes. I never say no. If I can do it, I'm going to do it. So, and I like I said, I like working on new projects. I like working on new ideas. That just stirs my energy, my creativity. So I'm always in. What we doing next?
That's your inner child.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I certainly understand the processing part. And this is something that I've wanted to ask you all week. And if it's a bit too personal, feel free to be coy, if you will. But I'm kind of curious because, like I said, often the art does require processing. And you talked about how you love your life and where you are now with your life. And I want to ask, like I said, art can often be a way of processing life's most difficult moments. And again, if you feel okay about this, if you feel comfortable, could you share where the personal pain has influenced your art, or how that shows up in your art, or the joy, any kind of personal joy that you can share that shows up or influences your art, and how it shows up in what have you?
Well, I think there's always two sides to everything, in order to get through life, you are going to go through some struggles, and you are going to go through some pains. But those struggles and pains make you a stronger person moving forward. And yes, I have done some artwork. Now, I won't say challenge. I have done artwork that I've been emotional about, because I've gone through some things. But in that artwork, you still see like humor. You still see color. You still see. So it's almost like a passion for me. Yes, I'm going through this emotion right now, but I see on the other side it's going to be a beautiful world, basically. And then I look for that. I just look for the next. I look for the rainbow in the sky. I look for that pot of gold. I look for this jewelry. But for me, life is wonderful, and that's why I said, I really appreciate being on the show today. This takes me to another level, and so I'm happy about this. So thank you guys so much.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Very kind. So I am new to. I've always had an appreciation for art. In fact, my father, before he passed away, God rest his soul, for many, many years was the captain of the guard force at the National Gallery of Art here in Washington. Always had a great appreciation and exposure to art, but I'm kind of new to the notion of buying art, like real art. And so I don't think that I'm alone when I say that art pricing is a bit of a mystery to me. Like, and I know that some pieces are far more reasonable than others, and others are just really, really, really expensive. So my question to you is, among artists, is there a standard process in terms of how art is priced? What is what goes into determining the cost of a piece?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the artist. I think it depends on their years of painting. If you were a beginning collector, I would look at young artists right now because we need to support them. I think there's some wonderful young artists out there, and if you buy their work now, you'll get it a lot less once they become up to that level. I think there's negotiation when it comes to artwork with artists. There's so many ways you can do buying artwork from a gallery. You're gonna pay more money. That's buying artwork from an artist. You're gonna pay less. So, and I would follow the artist. You want to follow the artist's career. You want to see, you just want to follow their career before you invest in them. You want to follow their career.
So negotiating is not an insult to an artist. You're saying
most artists is not an insult to. It's like, I like your piece. I would love to have it here, and then it's all about building relationships.
Yes.
So when you become comfortable with the artist, and you just take them out to dinner, take them out to coffee or something, just to get to know the artist before you even purchase their work, and then look at their portfolio, look at and see what they're doing. Look what the last show they've been to, who bought their pieces, how much they sell their pieces for. That way, if an artist like you, now I'm gonna tell you this. Don't tell nobody I told you this.
Okay, come on, tell me. Okay, we won't say a word. It's just the four of us. Go right ahead.
But if an artist like you, they will work out a deal for you. They rather for you to have their artwork, and they want to sell their artwork to somebody that appreciates it.
Yes.
And so that's our Achilles heel basically. It's like, I got a piece of artwork now. I have a client that wants to buy it. I'm like, I don't know, but but what I try to do is work with people, and so what I'm gonna do is do a G clay print for her because she's a good client. She's a good she's a good art collector, and I'm gonna give her that for her birthday. But don't tell her I told y'all that. No.
Hopefully she is watching, but she has her ears closed. Okay.
Just say what up.
Well, look, Greg, I know I want to get to the place where I know all of our viewers have been waiting. I want them to see your work. I do want to, first of all, acknowledge Eric Shields, who's phoning in from the Carolinas. Thank you for joining us tonight. And
bro.
We talked this guy up today, George Pringle. He chimed in and said, Greg is a gifted artist that has generated a love language in his work and relationships with people. That's beautifully said, George. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're going to turn it over to the artist himself, and we're going to roll his artwork, and he can tell you what it is. So, take it away, Greg.
Okay.
Let me see. There we go. All right.
Okay. First painting, that's my mother and father. It was for their 40th anniversary. I do a lot of three-dimensional. So the flower there is a three-dimensional flower made of porcelain.
Okay.
That's Louis Armstrong. My mother was a big fan of his. And during this time, I was working with different shapes of canvases. So I kind of like did this shape, and it just worked with the image that I wanted to put on the canvas.
I was going to ask you, how did you get a frame to do that? Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Marilyn Monroe. This is like I said, I work with 3 dimensions. So all of these are rhinestones and murals on her dress. And I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 images. I always do 5 or 7 images when I do my paintings, because 5 means the heart, 7 is completion.
Okay.
That's my Josephine Baker character. So that's her banana dance.
My girl.
This is called tribal dancers. The original actually has Raphael on it. And these are wooden masses that I carved out and painted. And I wanted to give like a psychedelic sort of vibration with the dancers. So it was very 60ish.
I remember seeing that up close and how big it is. And we're going to talk about his showing next. But this piece right here, it will just blow you away.
This piece is called Madonna and Child.
It's beautiful, gorgeous.
Of course, that's Madonna, and like I said, I work with a lot of 3 dimensions. So all these are flowers that I made out of porcelain, and then I put the necklace is like rhinestones. This is LeBron James. I did this for an exhibit in Ghana. I think it was Port of Harlem, working with Port of Harlem. They did an exhibit out there. This is my favorite. It's called Sexy Jazz Cool. I'm always been into jazz and music. I think in my past life I was a musician, but so this is my jazz singer.
With the one eye. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This is my tribute to Michael Jackson. I call it Moon Man because all the changes he'd gone through in his life. So yeah, this is this, and I did like a psychedelic in the corner there. This is my Sammy Davis Jr. piece. My mom, this is really her painting. I did this for her. She loves Sammy Davis Jr. And we sent him a letter, and he actually sent us the picture back of him. So this is the best picture I've ever had, and I got the letter too that he sent us. This is my picture of Whoopi Goldberg. These are real hair braids that I braided myself back in the early 90s.
And they're hanging off the picture?
Yes, they're attached to the picture.
Okay.
This is my little boy. I call it a surprise because he just fills the room up with so much joy and this happiness about it.
I am so grateful to have this image in my house. This is one of my favorite pieces from Greg. And whenever people come over, I make sure that the light is shining brightly on that. Greg, thank you for sharing your artwork with us tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So, Greg, moving on, though, we have a couple of more questions to ask you. If art hadn't ended up being your thing, what do you think you'd be doing instead? For example, was there ever another path that you had considered?
I would have been a singer or entertainer. That's just something I always wanted to do. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted everybody to hear me sing. I can't sing, but I wanted to sing. I wanted to, yes, da, 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 da. But that wasn't my calling. So instead of all my friends could sing, they would always sing me. I'd be in the background, yeah, da, da, da. But no. But no, I would have wanted to be a singer or entertainer, basically.
Halo didn't sing either, but anyway.
Right.
And in the real world, I probably would have wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
We need more of those.
Yeah. So then with all of that, what piece of advice you've received that has stuck with you, and how did it shape your career as an artist then?
Well, like I said, I used to talk with a lot of celebrities. I think one Quincy would tell me, you have to learn how to be humble. So I've learned that. And then another celebrity, when I was in New York, told me, Greg, as Black men, we have to work twice as hard. Mm-hmm. So, and then another person told me, once you get to the table, make sure that somebody else can come behind you. So I always believe in lifting the next person up behind me and doing what I can do for them before they can move on in their career.
Thank you.
I love it.
Love that. I love that advice. So as we come to the conclusion of our time with you, the question I have that we often ask our guests is, what's next? What can we expect next for you? I know that your work will be appearing at Love's Stand as a part of the Let's Stand for Love exhibit. That's coming up, and that's going to be May 2nd through September 5th. Tell us a little bit about Let's Stand for Love, But what else can we expect from you, and how does one follow you?
Basically, you can follow me on Facebook right now. My son and my nephew's trying to get me on Instagram, so that takes me. That's
Let
taking
them do it for you. Let them
Yes,
do it.
that's what I'm trying to like. I done threw some hints now. That much to pressure them. But
Sometimes with the young ones, you got to be direct. Tell them what.
yes. but like I said, I like doing projects. So when people call me about a project, I usually kind of like, okay, if I can do it, I'm gonna do it. So the manager at the Venn Hotel approached me last year about doing something for for Pride, but I was too busy. I had some other projects I was working on. So this year, she approached me in December or October and asked me, would I be willing to do World Pride? And I told her, sure. I didn't have any plans. So right now we're putting together the show for World Pride, and it should be really nice. I got a nice, diverse group of artists, and they're passionate about what they're doing, and the theme is love. Bottom line, love. Love conquers. Love is everything. Love is everybody. So I wanted to make sure that what that love means to them is how we express ourselves. So basically, and I'm looking forward to that show. So everybody got to come out for that show. That's going to be a nice show.
And it sounds like that would be certainly something we do not want to miss.
Yes. And then I got this fashionista from Berlin. His name is Juan Carlos. He has some wonderful writings, and he's just a muse. So, I know Juan since he lived in New York, and Juan used to hang out with everybody, Grace Jones, everybody back in the day. So I was talking to him a couple of months ago. I said, look, Juan, I need you to do my show for me. Juan is so deep. And he's such a passionate spirit. I said, Juan, people got to hear your story. People got to hear you talk. So we having some of his quotes put up as well. So those are the artists.
Excellent. Now, where is Let's Stand for Love being held? Like, where exactly is it being held?
It's going to be at the Venn Hotel, and the Venn Hotel is on Massachusetts Avenue.
You're in D.C. then?
It's right off the DuPont Circle.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right off. And when you get that information, just make sure the final, any type of final advertisements for the show, Greg, please let us know so we can share it and get the word out for you. I went last year to his exhibit, and it was absolutely incredible. I mean, he had artists, people singing, and the food and the artists. It was more than I thought I was going to get. So I definitely want to support you this year. And it's running longer this year. It didn't run that long as it's running right now, did it?
No, I think when I did the exhibit there, my show was only a month.
Right.
Then I did another show for them. I think that was like for 2 months.
Right.
So this time she wanted, she suggested that we since it's the summer months, people can come, and they have a lot of tourists during the summertime, so people can appreciate the show and come out for the show. Right. And so learn more about World Pride, learn more about what love means to people, just touching people and getting them to another place mentally, besides being on this planet dealing with this craziness that we're dealing with right now.
How about that? Well, Greg, thank you. Our time with you has come to a close, and once again, I just want to thank you for working with us during our technical difficulties. You are a ray of light, and ladies and gentlemen, y'all don't know it, but he did bring the I don't know what you call the healing bowl. He brought the bowl backstage.
We'll do it again. Hold on, we're gonna do it again before we get on. Close your eyes.
He bought it.
Hold on. And then I'm working on a painting for the show.
Okay, wait. Let's see that. Let's.
Can you see it?
Okay. Yes.
It's divine.
Oh, we can see that. Yes.
That looks like the eyelashes I had last week. But thank you, Greg. Thank you for joining us tonight and just being a special guest for our April for Art series. Didn't want to do it without you, so thank you for giving us your time, man.
Truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Guys.
Don't go away. We're going to bring you back when we close the show.
Okay.
But thank you again for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our show. I have no idea what time it is because I'm such a stickler for time, but I have no idea. But I want to thank all of you all for sticking with us tonight. with Sean, Bobby, and I. You know, we really do appreciate you. And next week, we have our next artist that will be joining us. He's from Baltimore. His name is Larry Perry, and his art is just, again, is sickening. And so I cannot wait to have Larry on the show next week. And we do not close this show without giving you guys words of the week. And this week, thanks to Bobby, art is not a mirror held up to reality, but a hammer with which to shape it. And I want to thank you, Bobby, for giving us that tonight. Thank you, Sean and Bobby.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Alvin. Thank you.
I thank you, thank you, thank you. My producer, our producer, Norman, can you bring Greg back to the, hopefully he's there. Can we bring him back real quick? So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us. And please share the show with somebody. Tell us about us. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere. So please subscribe to our YouTube page. And we look forward to seeing you next week on a brand new episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
He said.
He said.
Come on.
Y'all have a good weekend and stay dry. Wait, there's Larry Perry right there. Larry joined the show. Can't wait to see you next week.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
everybody.
Have a
Be
good
well.
weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good night.